Welcome to your 2024 off-season training plan put together for you by Train 2.0 and Jason Yee. Now, this is the program that you want to use to balance four key things, which is not just getting stronger and improving your cardio. This off-season program is designed to actually have you get in-game results so that you show up to off-season or your training camp, and not only are you top of the beep test, you're top in all the strength and power things that you need to do, but you're also actually doing great on the ice. You see, hockey is such a complex sport, and a lot of players spend their energy in the wrong areas, or they don't know exactly where to spend their areas, so they don't do anything at all because it's so complex, and they end up burning so much energy in the wrong areas, and then they don't actually get the results they're looking for in a game. Now, I've made so many of these mistakes, but I also have a background in kinesiology. I have my kinesiology degree. I'm a kinesiologist. I've been coaching now for over 20 years. And I've got millions of views on my YouTube. And I've also played professional hockey and always tended to finish at the top of my fitness results. And not only are these things important for what I'm about to share with you next, but more importantly, I've made so many mistakes. I've made a ton of mistakes about, putting my effort in the wrong areas, doing things that were too complex, focusing on, the strength and cardio at the expense of my mechanics. And that's a mistake that I don't want you to make. So I've put together a program that helps you prioritize exactly what to do, in what order, and I've really, really simplified things because complexity is the enemy of execution. And what I want to do is I want to create a program so simple that anyone can follow it, and then you can scale it up all the way to the pro level, and then down all the way to players as young as, say, aged 8, 9, and 10. And I'm going to explain to you how you can actually adjust all of that. So that's a lot to take in. Let's get into it. We've got about 30 to 40 minutes together, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this off-season program. Then, when we're done, like I said, this is presented by Train 2.0, and I'm going to give you all of this value for free. I'm going to show you how to do all of this, but I'm also going to make a very clear pitch to you, which is this is only part one of part two. There's two parts to this, and the second part is in the Train 2.0 Plus membership. I'll go over all of that in a second, but in the second video, I'm going to go into more depth into everything, and you're going to see exactly how to get this off-season training program. But let me give you the goods first. Let me give you a bunch of value that regardless of whether you choose to sign up for Train 2.0 Plus or not, you're going to get a ton of value. You're going to know exactly how to head into your off-season to absolutely crush it when the training camp runs around. So give me that opportunity to give you a ton of value before you decide to sign up. You want to make sure that I walk my walk and talk my talk before you believe me on any of that stuff. So let's dive in to what we're going to cover and why. So today we're going to talk about 4 themes balanced to perfection and properly prioritized. I think that's the most important part. So we're going to talk about, in your off-season program, how do you achieve mechanics mastery along with crazy cardio, so you're top of the beep test, and ruthless strength, so you're crushing people in the corners and crushing your fitness test, all while connecting your spirit. So actually, cross-training, being involved in your community, connecting socially and with your family, all important things. We'll talk about all of those things. And mechanics mastery is all about getting leverage by copying and pasting the mechanics of elite players. So this is what we talk about at Train 2.0 as like our tip of the spear. This is what we mostly have people focusing on. But how do you integrate it into your off-season program? It's really important to know how and when to do it. And this is actually your highest leverage activity. But next, what's really important is crazy cardio. And I'm going to show you exactly how to create crazy cardio using the barbell strategy to beat everyone on the beep test and then never be out of breath on the ice. We're actually going to use this thing known as science and physiology, things that I studied in depth in school, to show you exactly how to do it. I've studied them in school and then I've applied them for great results. So just making sure to emphasize that. Then ruthless strength, how to add 50 to 100 pounds in the 3 key movements that hockey players need to be stronger and faster, all without overtraining. And then we're going to talk about how to connect your spirit, how to refresh your mind and body while making the neuronal connections. Those are the connections in your brain that will improve your game sense and also your spirit. And there's a little bonus section here about cryotherapy, hot cold therapy as well. So coming back to the theme, which is that complexity is the enemy of execution. As we go through this, everyone should be able to say to me, you know what, Jason, your thing is just that simple. It's too simple. It's too simple. There's way more complexity here. There's way more nuance to this. Absolutely. 100%. And I remember I talked about a lot of the mistakes that I've made. Well, one of my mistakes was getting way too complex and having programs that were way too complex. So complex and but so precise and so correct in their approach that they were hard to execute. Given that we have a YouTube relationship or the beginning of a YouTube relationship, I don't want to give you a complex program because you're not going to be able to execute it. You'll watch it and be like, oh yeah, that was interesting. And those were some cool points, but really, like, I'm not going to go execute it. I'm going to make something so simple that you're going to be able to execute it. And when you're able to execute it, that's actually how you get results. Now, the first part of this is understanding what energy is and does, which is, you really want to use your energy on the highest impact activities first. And there's this saying, and I didn't verify this, but I'm pretty sure it's from Abraham Lincoln, which is that if I had 24 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend the first 23 hours sharpening the axe. What this means is that there's some activities that have a higher impact than other activities. In this case, Abraham Lincoln is talking about sharpening the axe. So for us, that is mechanics. Mechanics make the biggest difference on the ice for you. If you want to test that theory, all you need to do is look at some of the off-ice fitness results of first overall draft picks and know that they eventually do get their fitness tests really, really good. But usually when they come into the league and usually when they do the NHL combine testing, they are not top in anything other than sometimes aerobic. They might be top in aerobic and then sometimes top in maybe like fast twitch muscle fiber, like their long jump or their high jump, something like that. So those are the places where you tend to see them be outliers, but otherwise they're usually quite average and sometimes below average on their fitness test. Now, that's not to say it's not important, because as you do see players like a McDavid get stronger and get into better shape and develop that like NHL level strength, they do become more dominant, absolutely. But mechanics is the key differentiator. So that's why we always focus on that first. Now, the key thing with a good off-season training program is you want to stack the highest leverage training first. So because mechanics are where you get your highest leverage, meaning that you get more results with less effort, you want to do that first, that you want to do that training activity first. And because mechanics take time and energy to learn, mostly mental energy, right? Like mental bandwidth as you learn and refine your mechanics. Because of that, you want to learn them when you are fresh. So you want to do that first. If you do cardio or strength before the mechanics training, it puts the brakes on your mechanics learning, which is a bad idea because mechanics learning is where you're going to get your biggest results, right? And if you just want to test that, think of McDavid or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or Matthews or any of these like first round draft picks, these first overall draft picks who come into the league and play at 18, 19. Are they the strongest? No. Are they the fastest? Usually not always. Like, I'm talking about off ice. Are they in the best shape? Sometimes, they're usually pretty middle of the pack, but where they always stand out is in their mechanics. So we want to be focusing on that first, and then designing the system, designing your off-season training plan so that you focus on that first, but still integrate all the other important aspects is a really key part of this. And that's why this is so important. So the 2.0 mechanics rule is always practice mechanics first. And 45 to 90 minutes is the sweet spot. 45 because less than that, you're probably not getting fully into a flow, like a deep work state where you're focused and you're executing these mechanics. And 90 minutes, you can always push it, but like 90 minutes is around where you can have peak focus and peak attention before that starts to wane. Of course, you can always push that, but 45 to 90 minutes is around a good range for you to think about. So doing that first is important. Next up is that cardiovascular capacity. So your crazy cardio, being in great shape, finishing top on the beep test, and being never out of breath on the ice. That capacity is built on either end of the barbell. Not this barbell that I'm showing you here, but this barbell, okay? Which is your cardio zones. And these barbells are great for strength, of course, but we want to be building our cardio in zone 2 and zone 5. And so that's what I mean by, having the barbell. So we are primarily building our cardio in these two zones. Why? Well, the key thing is that when you are in zone 2, which, by the way, is kind of 60 to 70% of your max heart rate, and you're doing it for about 30 minutes. We'll go into exactly how much per day in the next video. But when you're doing that, what that does is it sets a really great baseline for your cardio. But it also helps you recover. And it's intense enough that it stresses and trains your cardiovascular system, but not so high that it prevents you from recovering. You can actually do zone 2 cardio every single day, and it won't tire you out. In fact, it'll help to re-energize you, especially once you get used to it. So that's where you want to be building most of your cardio base. Now, you do need a heart rate monitor for this. Now, I'm an Apple guy, and I would recommend an Apple Watch, but you don't need an Apple Watch. You can use a Fitbit or a Garmin or whatever is out there. You can get something off Amazon that, as long as it tells you your heart rate. Once you calculate your heart rate and calculate what zone 2 should be based on your age, and then some of these other watches will do it more accurately. But once you do that, that's how you determine zone 2, and you want to spend about 30 minutes in there per day. And that is just going to help you build that base of your cardio. I will go into the technical elements of it in a second, but for now, that's just the first bit. The next part is that your anaerobic capacity and also your aerobic capacity is built in zone 5. So what that means is that this is your highest intensity exercise. It's 90 to 100% of your max heart rate. And it should not be done for more than 5 minutes. In fact, it should be done a lot less. You see, what a lot of people do is, instead of spending most of their time here and here on either end of the barbell, you can see like that, they actually spend a lot of their time here and here in the zones 3 and 4. Now, this is why this is a bad idea. Zones 3 and 4 are challenging. They definitely are challenging. They're good for your mental strength. However, you don't recover quickly enough from them. Like, as in, if you do some sort of like CrossFit workout in like a zone 3 or 4, you did get your heart rate up high, but it didn't cause quite the training response you were looking for. But you also will not be able to recover sufficiently the next day to be able to do it. Whereas zone 2, it's low enough intensity that you can do it every single day. And then zone 5 is intense enough to actually create a training effect. I'll talk about that in a second, but let's just touch on zone 3 and 4 workouts being really good for mental strength. because they're hard, right? These are like your circuit training. These might be like a CrossFit workout, something like that. And they should be done every 1 to 2 weeks to build tolerance. Like, I'm a David Goggins fan, and so having mental strength is something that is important. I think you should train that and continue to make sure you have that resilience to withstand tough workouts. And I think that's super important. But to actually like move the needle on your cardio, so you have crazy cardio, you want to stick to zone 2 and 4. So that's what this program consists of. Now, you can skip past this if you don't want to go into the physiology of this. But if you do, listen along. The reason that we have zone 2 and zone 5 is that the primary way that your cardio improves is via drops in oxygen. So what that means is when you exercise for long periods of time, you have your body, as it's burning through energy, also burns up oxygen along with that energy. And that drop in oxygen level for a long period of time, and that's the key, is the length of the period of time, that's creating a molecular signal to your body to, 1, increase blood plasma volume, and then 2, your mitochondrial cell density. And so there's actual, again, it's the precursor is the lack of oxygen. And that triggers those two things to occur. So when you have increase in blood plasma volume, what that does is that increases the volume of blood in your system. Imagine putting more water into a water balloon. That's what you're doing. When you have more blood in your system, more blood volume in your system, that increases the size of your heart. Increases the size of your heart, and then also the amount of blood that it pumps out. So again, imagine more water going into the water balloon, and then that being pumped out of the water balloon. That's what's happening, and you can trigger that with long, slow periods of cardio where you are, actually doing that. Now, in zone 2, the secondary trigger for cardio is, as in improving your VO2 max, is actually a really steep drop off in oxygen. So what that looks like is typically when you have your exercise, your blood oxygen is around here, and then when you exercise, like in a zone 2, it drops a little bit like this, and that is the cellular, or is that like the trigger for different cellular signals to make mitochondria and blood plasma. But the other way is a really intense drop off. So when you do a zone 5 workout, you see a really intense drop off of blood oxygen, and then it starts to rise back up as your breathing rate starts to increase. But this drop off that comes from zone 5 is an important signal to your body to say, oh shoot, I need to withstand drops in oxygen, and I need to make adjustments. And that's primarily going to do a couple things. Like I said, it's going to increase mitochondrial cell density, and then also your blood plasma volume. Also, when you do that, your body is going to learn to withstand high levels of acidity. Now, most people call it lactic acid, but what most people don't know is that lactic acid immediately dissociates into lactate and hydrogen ions. It's my belief that the hydrogen ions, which causes acidity, is the primary thing that is causing the pain that you feel from the burn, and then also preventing you from being able to exercise. Continued exercise. So when you exercise at really, really high intensities, you're generating, i.e. zone 5, you're generating a ton of acidity really quickly because you are generating a ton of you're kind of beyond your heart's ability to keep up. So that's why we use high intensity intervals in zone 5. And again, that's the key thing, zone 5, not zone 4 or 3. A lot of people will do these quote unquote hard workouts, but they're actually in zone 4 and 3 because they're doing like a 10-minute workout or a 20-minute workout. It's not possible to be in zone 5 for 10 minutes. It's just like physiologically not possible. So if you're doing these quote unquote intense workouts in zone 3 and 4, you are not getting to zone 5, so you're not creating that rapid drop off in oxygen that you need. Instead, you're kind of sticking around at a medium level of oxygen deficit, and that's not going to create the same cellular triggers that you need to create the cardio that you want. So that's some of the in-depth science behind this, and why you want to use the barbell strategy. So to simplify it now, your cardio rule is get a heart rate monitor. You can be in zone 2 for an unlimited amount of time because it's both training and also recovery. And then you want to do zone 5 2 to 3 times per week. So I tend to use Tabatas, but there's different ways that you can train this. Basically train like a sprinter. And but that's the cardio rule. Now, the next part of this, which is kind of the bonus piece, is that your ability to train is based on your ability to recover. And recovery is everything. And so along with your heart rate, you want to make sure that you are monitoring your sleeping and morning resting heart rate. This is another reason why you want a heart rate monitor, like I said. And then why am I telling you this? Because again, I believe in David Goggins. I think that most people can push much harder than they think. But I still believe that you want to use your physiology to help tell you when you need to like back down, or whether you can keep amping it up. It really just gives you the peace of mind that you can just keep on amping it up, and you're not going to get overtrained. I think people kind of spuriously are like, oh, I'm overtraining, where they're not overtraining. They're just not getting enough sleep. That's usually the case. So here's how you know if you're getting into like a overtraining state, which is not burnout, by the way. Again, I'm kind of David Goggins about this, so I'm not a huge believer in this. I more think I think you can really push through a lot. But anyway, here's how you know physiologically if you should back down. Is that if your heart rate, your morning heart rate or your sleeping heart rate starts rising for more than 2 nights consecutively, that means it would be time to back off on some elements of your training and increase your recovery time. But the other part of this is sleep. So sleep should be at least 8 hours per night. And most athletes think that, because, your average person sleeps 8 hours a night and they're sleeping 8 hours a night, they should be fine. Well, the truth is that the best athletes actually need to sleep 9+ hours. So if you're thinking you're tired, ask yourself, are you sleeping more than 9 hours? They did a study of like the very, very best athletes like LeBron James and Tiger Woods and Roger Federer, and they sleep like 9, 10, sometimes 11 hours a day because their bodies are under demand so much. Of course, you've got the Michael Jordans and the Jocko Willinks of the world who don't need that. That is actually a genetic trait, by the way. So if you happen to have that genetic trait, that's great. But most athletes do not. Most people do not. And they actually do need 9+ hours of sleep. So if you're like, oh, I'm tired. Well, are you sleeping enough? If you're honest with yourself and you're actually, not sleeping under 9 hours, then you just need to increase your sleep. Last thing is just being aware of the cost of boozing on your recovery. So when you're doing all these training things, I'm personally not a big drinker, but I do know that it's important socialization, and it's fun. Like I get it, I have fun with it too, but I might drink a total of like once or twice a year, and you can do it. But what you should be is just aware of the cost. And there's a physiological cost, which primarily is you'll notice that after boozing, during the night and in the morning, your resting heart rate will be higher, indicating that you haven't recovered fully. So you can do it. You can do it 7 days a week if you like. And again, I think it's even good from like a mindset perspective to get up in the morning and do a workout while you're after a night out. That's good mentally to be good at, but just be aware of the cost. I wouldn't recommend you do it every single day. and I personally wouldn't recommend that you do it that often, although I know that it's an important part to socialization and team bonding. I don't deny that at all. But just be aware of the cost. So, I'd recommend that you pick your battles, you pick when you're going to be doing that, and choose to do it at times when you can actually, make sure that your recovery is, if it is impacted, you have the time to get it back under control. What you'll notice, like I said, is if you're going out 2-3 nights in a row, you're going to see your sleeping and morning resting heart rate climb higher and higher and higher, and that's going to kind of put you into that overtrained state. So, why would you do that if you don't have to, right? Especially if you're training seriously for your sport. So, that's just my note on that and on recovery. So, the Train 2.0 recovery rule is monitor your resting heart rate to determine your training load. And that can be nighttime sleeping or morning resting heart rate. And as long as it's not rising, keep on loading them up. One last thing on the boozing, right? Just imagine if you are paying attention to your resting heart rate, and you're you just are it's going higher and higher and higher, then you have to back off your training. Now you have the opportunity for less reps, and that kind of stuff, just because recovery is everything and you're choosing not to do that. So again, not a bad thing, not that you can't do it. It's just that be aware of the cost. Okay. Next part to this is ruthless strength training requires consistently picking up the rock. Well, what does that mean? Well, this is a rather dramatized, graph on the right here. But my philosophy in this 2024 off-season training plan is to do 3 exercises for 3 reps for 3 sets every single day, and then inch your weight higher every week. Really simple? Absolutely. Absolutely the most optimal program? Maybe not. Maybe because it's simple and easy to do and easy to remember, and you'll never forget it. But maybe not, because you can definitely get more technical and isolate specific muscles and periodize and all of those things. You can absolutely do that too. But the simplest thing, in the period of my training where I got the most benefit, was doing this. And remember that when I say most benefit, I don't just mean most benefit just in terms of strength, but being able to balance all of these things. When I was focused on using ruthless strength, I gained a ton of strength, and I did not even come close to burning out, and I was able to put all my energy into mechanics. And that was a huge boost to my overall game, which is what I'm trying to do here. And I've chosen 3 exercises after many, many years of experimentation and program design to be the 3 most ruthlessly efficient, hence why I call it ruthless strength training, exercises. So the ATG split squat, which will help with your shin angle, and then bulletproof your knees and your quadricep strength, also while lengthening your hip flexors. Deadlift, which helps hip hinge, but then also your back strength, your pulling. And then bench press, which is a compound movement to work on your strength. And the idea is to inch your weight higher every week. And when you do your 3 reps in your 3 sets, always leave 1 rep in the tank. So you're not always trying to max out. You do want to do that with muscle building, but that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're talking about. But if you do want to get into what that is, here I have a couple add-ons to tweak it if you want. But that's again in the in the second video. I won't go into that in this one. So the 2.0 strength rule is lift every day for 3 sets, 3 reps, and 3 exercises. Now, the last part is connecting all parts of your spirit to become an integrated hockey player. And so the rule is do one thing every day to connect your spirit to a different part of you. Now, what does that mean? This might sound a little bit hocus pocus or woo woo, but I do recommend doing, and this is what it looks like, one activity of either cross training, giving back to your community, or something social with friends and family every single day. I believe that, if you're a pro hockey player, then, you probably have 4 or 5 days, hours a day and to dedicate to this, but you don't want to be a one-dimensional person or being. I mean, you hear of, amazing hockey players like Sidney Crosby or like the Sedins, who are very community-minded, very connected socially. They have interests outside of hockey, and I think you want to create that to really connect, to yourself and be an integrated human. If you're spending 4 or 5 hours a day, make sure that like an hour or at least of that is doing something other than hockey, so that you have just a well-rounded personality. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second is with cross training. I believe you should be cross training, every day and often. So tennis, hiking, golf, biking, whatever it is that you enjoy. I believe you should be doing that every day. I think that moving and finding enjoyment in those movements, and connecting and socializing, and also learning things that may or may not connect to hockey, as in, movements that you might be learning in tennis, which I always recommend, might help you in hockey. Well, those are beneficial things to do. So I do recommend that you do those things every single day, to connect to a different part of you. Now, if you're maybe younger than an NHLer, maybe you're like 12 or 13, you probably don't yet have a job. Maybe you do, but if you don't, you can be dedicating that much time to that. You can be dedicating 4 or 5 hours a week or a day to all of this. Why not? If your goal is to play pro, then you got to begin acting like it. And again, so long as you're making sure to cross train, engage in your community with your friends and family, and that's always a part of your day, well, then what's the matter with doing all this every single day? Probably nothing. And it just really is a matter of priorities and commitment and where you want your energy to go. So that is my recommendation for that. So my 2.0 spirit rule is do one thing every day to connect your spirit to a different part of yourself. Okay, here's the bonus section, which is adding in hot-cold therapy to boost results. So that looks like cold plunging and saunas. So to turbo boost your results, because remember that recovery is everything, cold plunging in the morning before exercise will increase your dopamine. Your dopamine is a neurotransmitter that increases your feelings of motivation. So that'll help you get through all the activities that you have planned in a day, because it's not easy. I'm not putting this little spreadsheet together and saying, oh yeah, this is like super easy to do. No, it's a lot of work and it's high intensity. And, I don't recommend it for everyone. Especially people that are not serious. But if you are serious, then, you're going to need to find a way to get yourself motivated, because you won't always feel motivated. And cold plunging in the morning will neurologically set yourself up to be a motivated person by increasing dopamine. The next part is doing saunas after your training to turbo boost your results. 2 benefits. Well, there's many benefits. There's benefits to your cardio. There's benefits to your strength and recovery and muscle building. And then there's also like overall health benefits. So you want to do this after your training, not before. The reason that after the training it's helpful is because imagine you just did a cardio workout. In that situation, what happened was your brain had to trigger your body to do a cardio workout. Then your cardio was stressed. What happens in the sauna is your cardio becomes stressed, but your brain didn't have to like trigger your body to do it. You just need to sit there. So you're almost getting a second cardio workout without mentally fatiguing yourself. So you're almost doing double duty with not double duty the effort. So that increases cardiovascular gains. In terms of your strength, sauna has a direct dose response. Sorry, that's a mouthful. A relationship between your what's it called? Sorry, your HGH release and time in the sauna. So the longer you're in the sauna, the more HGH. HGH is your human growth hormone, and primarily what that does is it helps your body metabolize fat, metabolize and burn fat, and then also synthesize muscle. So it's a really important hormone that triggers literally human growth. And so if you're aiming to build muscle, get taller, burn fat, get bigger, then you want to be triggering that. So the more time spent in there, the better. It also releases heat shock proteins. This is literally something that happens when your body is shocked by a really high heat. And these heat shock proteins help in protein repair. And your muscles are made up of, guess what? Protein. So when you trigger that, you trigger your muscles to get recovered more quickly. It's also relaxing. It helps you to recover just because you're more relaxed. You'll also feel better. It's a mood elevator. And then it'll also help you with sleep, which, as we know, is important. Now, in order to help you with sleep, it can't be done right before sleep. It should be done about 1.5 to 2 hours before sleep. So after your training is fine. And then lastly, there are some amazing health benefits. I think the studies that I've seen are that, when you do saunas regularly, like 5 to 7 days a week, it's like a 70% reduction in all-cause mortality. And I think it's a 40% reduction in cardiovascularly related deaths. So you might be at an age where you care about that, or you might be at an age where you don't care about that. But the benefits to your overall health are amazing. And then coming back to the sleeping part, which is that if you have trouble sleeping, consider a cold plunge before bed or a cold shower to get the core temperature down. A lot of times people have a hard time sleeping when they're too warm, especially men, women less so. But men, cool yourself down before bed. So if you're doing a sauna before bed or too close to bed, you might disrupt your sleep. So you need to make sure to drop your temperature beforehand. Sorry, I'm going to go one more technical thing, which is that the reason why you want to do it 1.5 to 2 hours ahead of time is because your body will begin cooling itself down naturally after the sauna. And if you give yourself that time, it'll start triggering itself to cool down just in time for you to fall asleep. But if you do it too close to bedtime, you might be too hot at the time of going to bed, which is where a cold plunge or a shower might help with that. So getting very technical, but that will turbo boost your recovery results, because recovery is everything. So here's your rules. Cold in the morning, sauna after training, be cool to sleep. I use an 8 sleep pod. I would recommend it if you have the means. And what that does is it controls your temperature. So it sets your temperature as cooler. And if you have a partner, then the different sides of the bed are at different temperatures. So you can each have your own preference. And so that's what I have. And that helps me sleep by getting cool before bed. And then it wakes me up nice and warm. And it's a great thing. My affiliate link is below. Just kidding. I don't have one, but I should get one because I do recommend it. So I don't make any money off that, but I do recommend an 8 sleep pod. Okay, so I hope you got a ton of value from that. And just to recap, some of the things that we went over, we talked about, 4 themes, how this was designed to be more focused on simplicity for execution rather than like perfection of like what is the optimal program. And then I'm also very clear that I'm prioritizing and biasing mechanics mastery, which would be working within the Train 2.0 Plus membership and the standards program that we have there to improve your mechanics for skating, for shooting, for stick handling. And that is the bias. That is the bias and the priority because I believe it has the biggest impact on your game. But then we talk about how do you layer in cardio, strength, and then cross-training, being involved in your community, being involved with your family, all in a way that like works together. And then we also talked about the bonus of adding in hot and cold. I layered in a bunch of stuff too about, David Goggins overtraining, and just kind of my overall perspective on how hard and how much I think you should be training. Now, if you enjoyed this, if you found this helpful, then what I'd love for you to do is sign up for the full 2024 off-season training program with a Train 2.0 Plus membership. And what that looks like is it's a $47 a month membership. And you can also get a year-long membership, which would save you, I think, 15 or 20%. And if you just want the off-season training program, sign up for a month and cancel. You can sign up, you can get it. It's $47 a month, and you can cancel. Now, I've done programs. I've charged $10,000 for programs. I've charged $5,000 for programs. And truthfully, the program that you're getting is probably like $2,000 or $3,000 worth of value, and you can get it for $47. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I think that when you join, you're gonna like the community. You're gonna like and see the training videos, and you're gonna start making improvements on your mechanics that you wouldn't normally expect. And you're going to be like, wow, this is great. So there's a little bit of honey to get you in, to be fully honest. Like, I think it's like way more value than $47 a month. To get you started. And then I think, you'll be able to get more and more value out of it as you go. And when you join, we have weekly coaching calls where we answer all your questions. And these are like video coaching calls where you can talk to myself or one of the other Train 2.0 coaches and get all your questions answered. We have some great communities where you can ask your questions, post your videos, get feedback, and connect with other Train 2.0 Plus members. And that's all within the Train 2.0 Plus membership. And like I said, that's $47 a month. And you can sign up for 1 month, take the plan, cancel, and run. But I really think that you're going to get a ton of value from the entire community and the entire program, especially with the focus on mechanics. I think you're going to go deep into that. And so I encourage you to do that. That's my ask, that you do that. And if you like it, let us know. But the thing I'd like to say too is, don't tell me when you start this thing. Tell me when you end this thing. And that's what I would be most proud of. That's what I would be happiest with, is that you send me a message in August or September after a successful tryout, after finishing top of your group in your beep test or whatever. Because everyone can start things. In 2024, everyone's starting their off-season training program. It's easy to say that. Tell me when you finish it. My case is that doing this training program is going to be something that you can actually finish because it's so simple. You can do it every single day. So yeah, don't tell me when you start it. Tell me when you finish it. Give me feedback. Let me know how it went, and share your wins so that we know how the 2024 version of this off-season training program did. With that, thank you very much. I'd love to see you in the Train 2.0 Plus membership. I hope you found this helpful, and best of luck with your off-season training. Thanks for watching.